In the early morning, as the first rays of sunlight just begin to touch the horizon, two men step out of their modest room in a small roadside motel. The older of the two, Leland Jones, his face marked with deep-set wrinkles, grumbles about the heat. Already the air burns in the lungs despite the early hour. He then orders his partner, Billy Orser, to pull the car around while he checks them out at the front desk. After that, they plan to head east, away from the big cities. Billy obeys without question and drives the car to the entrance. Leland disappears inside and takes his time. Billy nearly dozes off in the driver's seat before Leland finally reappears. He explains there had been a minor issue with the maid, but it's been taken care of, and they can hit the road now. That's when Leland realizes their water jugs are completely empty and sends Billy back in to refill them. Billy heads into the building his partner just left, quickly finds a tap with fresh water, and starts filling a jug. Then he scans the room for anything worth pocketing. No one stops him, because the clerk and the maid are both dead, lying in a pool of blood behind the counter. Billy takes it all in like it's nothing unexpected. But then, suddenly a door to the back room creaks open, and a terrified little girl, the owner's daughter, steps out. Billy draws his pistol, trying to calm the sobbing child. Moments later, a gunshot rings out. At that same moment, in the quiet town of Millbrook, Indiana, a girl about the same age named Sarah wakes up from a nightmare. Her father, Tom Stahl, rushes in to comfort her, assuring her it was just a bad dream. But Sarah insists she saw two terrible monsters and can't get them out of her mind. Her older brother Jack arrives, drawn by the noise. Sarah immediately tells him about the monsters that crawled out of her closet. Jack teases her gently, admitting that shadow creatures are pretty creepy, but they can't hurt anyone, especially when the lights are on. Their mother, Edie, is the last to join them. The monster tale is retold once again. Sarah asks if she can sleep with the light on, and Edie agrees that it's a wonderful idea. The kids finally settle down, and the house grows quiet once more. A new morning begins. The family sits around the table, sharing their plans for the day. Tom's truck has broken down again, and he asks Edie to drive him to work. She agrees. She only has 2 cases to review at the law firm today. Jack has a math test and during gym class is supposed to play baseball, even though he hates all the pointless running around. Tom chuckles and tells him to keep his head down so he doesn't take a ball to the face. Jack promises to do his best to survive. After breakfast, Edie drops Tom off at his small diner, which he owns and operates. Before he gets out, she flashes him a promising smile and hints at a romantic evening to come. Then she wishes him a great day. Tom heads toward the building. Passers-by greet him warmly, and early customers strike up friendly conversations. It's clear that everyone here knows and respects him. His assistant, Mick, is also happy to see the boss, especially since his coworker, Charlotte, is once again running late. One of the customers resumes a conversation Tom had interrupted earlier. About Mick's wife, who's known for being eccentric, Mick admits that she loves him so much. She's tried to kill him twice, but they've been happily married for 6 years anyway. The customer points out that you never really know who you're living with. The men laugh, and Tom watches them with a smile, grateful for this peaceful morning and the quiet day ahead. Meanwhile, his son Jack is out on the baseball field. He's never been much of a player, but somehow manages to catch the winning ball, infuriating one of his classmates, Bobby. Bobby already doesn't like Jack, and this incident pushes him over the edge. In the locker room after the game, he mocks Jack for saving the team and acting like some sports superstar. Jack tries to explain that it wasn't a big deal. It's just gym class after all. But Bobby keeps pushing, provoking him, itching for a fight. He wants to prove that Jack is a wimp and a coward, but Jack stays calm, choosing sarcasm over conflict. He readily admits that of course he can't compare to the handsome, athletic Bobby, that Bobby practically won the game single-handedly, secured his place as a team leader, and proved how worthless Jack really is. So beating him up would just be needlessly cruel and completely pointless. His dry, deadpan delivery hits the mark. Other students begin to laugh at the would-be brawler, and Bobby, realizing he's the butt of the joke, storms off in frustration. That evening, Edie picks Tom up from work. She explains that the nanny is staying with Sarah tonight and drives him to a roadside motel because they never had the chance to sneak away in high school, and she intends to fix that. Inside the room, she surprises her husband dressed as a high school cheerleader, and the sight clearly turns him on. The happy couple spend a few unforgettable hours together. Tom, gazing at his wife, tells her he's the luckiest man alive. Edie smiles and says she still loves him just like she did the day they met. Later that night, Jack and his girlfriend are sitting on a bench in the town park, talking about how kids spent their Sundays 100 years ago. Jack jokes that they probably jumped into their parents' wagons, rode all over town, played the banjo, and acted like idiots, pretty much the same way the two of them are acting now. Then they grew up, and someday they will too, working nonstop, turning into boring old people who go to bars once in a while. They both laugh, unaware that Bobby, driving by, is watching them from his car. He clenches the steering wheel and once again swears to settle the score with Jack. Meanwhile, Billy and Leland's car rolls into town. The slow-paced, peaceful life of this little community irritates them, but their wallets are empty, and that's a problem that needs fixing. Leland scans the quiet streets and tells his partner he'll take care of it. Back at the diner, Tom returns after saying goodbye to Edie, planning to help close up for the night. The last few customers are finishing their meals when the two killers walk in. Tom tells them they're closed, but the men ignore him and seat themselves at the counter, crudely demanding coffee and pie. Tom can tell they're looking for trouble, and rather than escalate the situation, he agrees to serve them. He pours their coffee while Charlotte brings the pie from the kitchen, but Tom catches the way the strangers are eyeing her, intercepts the dish, and places it on the counter himself. Then he quietly tells Charlotte to head home. She says goodbye and starts walking toward the door, but Billy grabs her and shoves her into a chair against the wall. Realizing the woman is in danger, Tom offers to give the men all the cash in the register, but quickly sees that's not all they're after. Leland leers at Charlotte and makes a crude remark, prompting Billy to move toward her, but Tom moves fast. He hurls a pot of hot coffee at Leland's face, shattering it across the man's head. Leland drops to the ground, his gun slipping from his hand. Tom leaps over the counter, grabs the weapon, and fires, stopping Billy instantly. Leland manages to stab Tom in the foot with a knife, but Tom swiftly turns the pistol on him and fires, ending it. It all happens so fast that no one in the room fully grasps what just took place. When they do, they look at Tom in stunned silence. No one had expected this quiet, mild-mannered cafe owner who barely raised his voice at anyone to act with such deadly precision. Suddenly, Tom Stoll is the center of attention. Local media swarm him, hailing him as a hero who saved lives. Footage of the incident is shown on every TV channel, something that deeply unsettles him. For now, he's still in the hospital, but that evening, Edie arrives to pick him up and shows him his photo on the front page of a major newspaper. The family steps out of the clinic to find a crowd of townsfolk gathered outside, eager to thank Tom once again for his courage and express their support. Edie is touched by the gesture and offers kind words on behalf of her overly humble husband. Television crews are present too. A journalist tries to interview Tom, but he ducks the attention, insisting that any man would have done the same thing in a moment of danger. He asks to be left alone. His foot hurts, and he's tired of the spotlight. The couple climbs into the car and heads home where the kids are waiting. Jack looks at his father with awe, proud of what he did. To him, Tom is a true hero. Tom, however, just hopes the journalists won't come knocking at their door again, especially since the news van that had been tailing them finally drives away. Suddenly, Edie notices an unfamiliar car parked across the street from their house. She assumes it's another news crew and makes a joke about her husband's newfound celebrity. Jack even suggests they try to get on the Larry King show, but Tom doesn't laugh. He looks genuinely worried. The next morning, the diner is packed. The townsfolk are flocking to the scene of the now famous incident. Tom is already behind the counter, helping the staff manage the sudden rush. Edie shows up as well, wanting to be near her husband. Then, unexpectedly, 3 men in suits walk in. Edie assumes they're reporters, but Tom knows right away. They're not. The man in dark sunglasses is clearly in charge. He orders coffee and calls Tom Joey. Tom doesn't react, calmly pouring the man a cup. The man thanks him, using the name Joey again. Tom tells him he must be mistaken, but the man just chuckles, removes his glasses, and reveals a face ravaged with scars. He says he and Joey go way back, because this man in front of him is not Tom Stoll. He's Joey Cusack from Philadelphia. Edie overhears the conversation and immediately tries to correct the scarred man. She doesn't like these people one bit and asks them to leave the diner, but the man, whom the others call Mr. Fogarty, slides a large bill across the counter and asks Tom to step outside for a private word. Tom firmly refuses. As far as he's concerned, the conversation is over. He tries to return the money, but Fogarty won't take it. The strangers eventually leave. Shaken and disturbed by the encounter, Edie contacts the town sheriff, Sam Carney. Not long after, the sheriff pulls Fogarty's car over. He checks their documents and orders them to leave town and not come back. That evening, back at Tom's house, the sheriff tells the couple what he found. He ran background checks on all 3 men. Each of them has a record for murder and armed robbery. Fogarty himself spent 15 years in prison for killing someone. These are not harmless drifters. They're real criminals, which is why the sheriff doubts they confused Tom with someone else by accident. He asks directly if Tom is part of a witness protection program. Edie tenses up, but Tom just laughs it off, flatly denying it. The sheriff admits he couldn't find any record of a Joey Cusack, but there is a Richie Cusack in Philadelphia, and he's a known crime boss. So the sheriff advises them to be extra careful. Then he leaves, leaving Tom and Edie deep in thought. The next morning, Tom is sitting alone in the diner when he spots the same car from the previous night, now parked near the entrance. Suddenly, it speeds off. Convinced that his family is in danger, Tom races outside, limping on his injured leg as he fumbles with his phone. He calls Edie, urgently telling her to get the shotgun and prepare to defend the house. The call wakes Edie. Disoriented, she scrambles to follow his instructions, still unsure what's going on. She arms herself and waits downstairs, ready to shoot anyone who dares enter. She nearly pulls the trigger when Tom bursts through the door, but it was a false alarm. Tom, overwhelmed and breathless, mumbles an explanation neither his wife nor his son can make sense of. Edie considers calling the sheriff, but then brushes it off, blaming Tom's behavior on the trauma he endured. He's still recovering, still shaken. Just then, Sarah reminds them that they were supposed to go shopping for new shoes. Edie lets go of the incident and gets ready for the outing. As the women head off, Jack stays behind. He turns to his dad, still confused. Why was Mom running around the house with a shotgun? Tom tells him it was just a false alarm. Jack doesn't let it go, so Tom explains that some gangsters came into the diner. They saw him on TV and thought they recognized him, mistaking him for someone else. He panicked, afraid they might come to the house. Jack pauses, then he nods slowly. He knows his father ran on a wounded leg, not for himself, but to protect them, and he promises they'll get through this, together. Meanwhile, at the store, Edie is trying on shoes when she glances around and realizes Sarah is gone. Panicked, she runs through the aisles, calling her daughter's name. Her heart races. Then she spots Sarah, standing by the toy section. Edie rushes to her, scolding and pleading with her never to wander off like that again. And then, a voice. Mr. Fogarty, sitting calmly on a bench nearby, greets her. He tells her not to worry. The little girl was under his watch. Nothing bad was going to happen. Not on his watch. But Edie hears the mocking tone in his voice and demands that he stay away from her family. Still smiling, he calmly replies that her family is now his business because he needs her husband, the man who knows him very well. His eye isn't completely blind after all, and he can see Joey Cusack standing right in front of him, unchanged except for the name. He tells Edie to ask her husband about his older brother Richie, about the time Joey, tried to gouge Fogarty's eye out with barbed wire. And while she's at it, maybe ask where he learned to kill people so well. Even so, Edie warns him that if she sees him near her family again, she'll use every legal connection she has to make sure he's arrested. Fogarty turns to leave, casually reminding her that she has a lovely daughter. At the same time, at school, Jack is once again being harassed by a group of boys led by Bobby, who believes Jack is a weakling unworthy of a father like his. He throws out a few taunts, and Jack, finally pushed too far, snaps, viciously beating Bobby and his crew, who never expected such fury from the quiet kid. Jack is suspended from school. When Tom hears what happened, he scolds his son, explaining that Bobby's parents are planning to press charges. Jack remains calm. After all, his mom's a lawyer. Tom reminds him that in their family, problems aren't solved with fists, but Jack fires back, saying that some members of their family solve problems with bullets. Tom slaps him across the face. Jack storms out of the house. Later that day, Edie comes home and tells Tom about her encounter with Fogarty at the store. She admits she's terrified. She's already gone to court and secured a restraining order against him, but she knows it won't stop him. What troubles her even more is that Fogarty genuinely believes Tom is Joey Cusack, so maybe they should try to prove he's not. But how? Take a DNA test? Their conversation is cut short by the sound of an engine outside. Tom steps into the yard and sees Fogarty's car. He grabs a shotgun and tells them to leave his property. Fogarty agrees, if Tom comes with them. Joey needs to take a little trip to Philadelphia to meet an old friend. Tom, trying to remain calm, insists he's never been to Philadelphia and doesn't know anyone there. That's when the gangsters open the car door and bring out Jack, whom they picked up in town and are now using as leverage. Edie screams and runs toward her son, but the men hold him back. Tom catches Edie, pleading with her to stay calm as Fogarty urges him to think of his family and come along quietly. For a little journey into the past, Tom whispers to Edie, telling her to trust him, that he'll get their son back. For now, she must go inside and stay with Sarah. Edie does as he asks, but watches everything unfold through the window. She sees Tom, whom Fogarty keeps calling Joey, drop his shotgun. Fogarty is pleased to see the resistance end and invites him into the car. Tom tells Jack to go back inside. The men release the boy, who follows his father's instructions. Then Tom gives Fogarty one last chance to leave, before something irreversible happens. One of Fogarty's men raises a gun, intending to force Tom into the car, but in a flash, Tom moves, crippling both henchmen with brutal, precise blows. They fall to the ground, bleeding. Fogarty pulls out a gun and shoots Tom in the chest. Tom collapses. Edie cries out in horror. Fogarty curses. His plan is falling apart. He lifts his gun again, ready to finish Tom off. As he leans in, asking Tom if he has any last words, Tom quietly admits it. He is Joey Cusack, and he regrets not killing Fogarty when he had the chance. Just then, a gunshot rings out. Fogarty drops dead. Tom turns and sees Jack standing there, holding the shotgun. The boy has killed the man who tried to murder his father. Wounded, Tom gets up, takes the gun from his son, and pulls him into a hug. Later, Edie visits Tom in the hospital, where he's recovering from his injuries. She sits by his bed and quietly asks him to tell her the truth. Because now, she's seen it. She saw him become Joey, just like Fogarty said. She saw her gentle, quiet husband transform into a killer, and now she believes Fogarty was right. Tom did kill people in Philadelphia, but what she really wants to know is why. Did he do it for money, or did he enjoy it? Tom, desperate, tries to explain that Joey is someone else, someone he buried long ago. He is Tom now, and he never wanted to go back. Edie wonders aloud if maybe he's a split personality, a schizoid, and the scariest part is, she has no idea how to find out, but Tom insists that he killed Joey Cusack with his own hands out in the desert when he swore never to pick up a weapon again. He spent 3 years becoming Tom Stahl, and when he met Edie, everything changed. Life finally turned around. If not for her, he would have forgotten his first name altogether. Edie realizes now why he never told her about his younger years or about his parents. She doesn't even know where the name Stahl came from, the name he passed on to her and their children. Tom begs her to believe him, to forgive him, but Edie walks away. Later, Tom returns home and sees Jack. The boy asks a question that stings. What do I even call you now? Tom doesn't understand. He's still his father. But Jack keeps going, saying his dad now seems like some mysterious killer dad, someone who could do anything. What if Jack tells the sheriff everything? Would his father decide to kill him too? Tom has no answer. Jack storms out of the house. Sometime later, the sheriff pulls up. He's glad to see Tom alive and well, but he admits he's been thinking a lot about what happened the last few days, and something doesn't add up. At that moment, Edie returns and sits beside her husband on the couch. The sheriff continues sharing his doubts. The whole situation just doesn't make sense. Serious men don't show up at the house of a small-town cafe owner unless they're absolutely sure he's someone worth coming for. He wants to know the truth. Tom hesitates, unsure how to answer all the questions. Just as he's about to speak, Edie cuts in. She tells the sheriff that Tom is who he says he is, her husband, the father of her children. She asks him to leave their family alone. They've suffered enough simply because Tom saved lives. The sheriff nods and leaves, but as soon as the door closes, Edie breaks down and runs upstairs. Tom follows and they argue, but he holds her tightly, and at last, they reconcile. Still, the distance between them grows. Edie begins to pull away, and Tom starts sleeping on the couch. One night, the phone rings. Tom answers, and hears a familiar voice call him little brother, praising him for not forgetting how to kill. Tom, Joey, immediately recognizes the voice. It's Richie, his older brother. Richie asks him to come to Philadelphia. It's time to settle things. Tom knows the moment has come. He gets in the car and drives east. At the designated location, he's met by one of Richie's men, who is there to escort him. Eventually, the man brings Tom to a large, beautiful mansion, Richie's home. Before letting him inside, he pats Tom down thoroughly, even though Tom insists he's unarmed. Then Richie appears, immediately diving into memories of the troublemaking little brother he once had. Tom, Joey, pushes back, saying most of those stories were made up. Richie laughs and pulls him into a hug. They sit on the couch, and the older brother begins to ask about his life. He's heard that Joey lives on a farm now, that he milks cows and bales hay. Tom denies the farming part, but admits he likes being married. Richie shrugs. That kind of life doesn't appeal to him. Marriage, commitment, not his thing. There are too many beautiful women in the world, and he's never met one worth giving up the rest. Then Richie's tone changes. He brings up old wounds. Joey never called, never wrote, not even a lousy postcard. What was he afraid of? Tom always thought Richie only cared about business. But Richie lays it out. Tom caused serious damage. He killed men loyal to the boss and took Fogarty's eye. Word on the street is that Tom's changed, that he's living the American dream now. But Richie can't just forget what happened. Joey was dead for a long time. And now he's back, alive. And it cost Richie dearly. Time, money, reputation. Before Joey's little stunt with Fogarty, Richie had been the front runner to take over the family business when the old man passed. Then came the fallout. Richie had a choice, clean up Joey's mess, or give up everything he'd worked for. He did what he had to do. He clawed his way back into the good graces of the family. But Joey cost him. And now, once again, he's a problem. A big one. The guys in Boston are circling, just waiting for Richie to mess up. And once again, it's all because of Joey, because of the lack of respect, the lack of trust. His little brother has become a liability again. Tom, Joey, reminds his brother that he came in peace. He just wants to know what he can do to make things right. Richie's answer is simple. He can die. He turns away, and in the same breath, he's suddenly attacked from behind and dragged back violently. But he fights back. Falling onto his back, he manages to twist free and break the hold, turning the tables on his attackers. Richie draws a pistol and starts shooting. Chaos erupts. Tom takes down his brother's bodyguards and bolts from the study. The gunshots draw another man, who rushes in with Richie to find him, but Tom lays a trap, luring the guard into a narrow hallway, then ends him with ruthless precision. Now it's just the two brothers, face to face, but this time, Tom holds the gun. Richie tries to talk him down, saying he's taking it all too personally. But the answer is a gunshot. Richie falls. Tom, Joey, kneels beside him one last time, whispering a farewell. Then he walks outside, down to the pond behind the mansion. There, he tosses the gun into the water and washes the blood from his hands. Time passes. He returns home. His family's just sitting down for dinner. Tom steps inside. Edie doesn't look up. She keeps her eyes on the table, her expression unreadable. Then Sarah stands up, takes a plate, and quietly places it in front of her father. Tom sits down without a word, waiting, hoping. Jack, after glancing at his mother, slides the bread toward his father. Finally, Edie lifts her head. Her eyes meet Tom's, both of them wet with tears. This isn't just a crime story. It's a philosophical parable about the masks we wear to survive. A film that forces us to wonder, what if the person we fear the most lives inside ourselves?